In the early 70s, my dad raced off-road, mainly in the Nevada desert. He raced Snore and then would race the Mint as well. At that time, he got me into racing motorcycles. I raced little mini 50s Indians in the desert. So when I wasn't racing, I'd go watch him race and do that. And then in the early 80s, he asked me one day, I was playing sports, basketball, baseball, things like that, and then one day he came and said, hey, there's a 1-2-1600 car that's for sale over at Butch Dean's shop. It used to belong to Bob Gerke, and it's for sale. You want to go try it? And I go, well, yeah, but what if I don't like it? He says, well, we'll just, we'll sell the car and move on then. So that's how I got started. Yeah, when I first started racing with my dad, the very first race was a Snore 250, and I was 16 years old, and I ended up doing the last 3 laps. We ended up finishing 6th, but after that race, I'm like, I love this. This is what I'm gonna do. I quit playing basketball in high school, and once we did that, and I realized, it became an addiction for me. In 1986, started driving Michael Gaughan's Class 1 car for him and Butch Dean, and I did that 86, 87. Well, that enabled me to meet Walker Evans. Michael Gaughan sponsored Walker Evans, and I ended up going to Baja with them together and pre-running. The very next year, 1988, Walker reached out to me to start driving one of his trucks. It was a Jeep 7S, and I ended up going down, meeting with him and the team and everything, and I agreed to drive the truck for the next year and went home. And a couple days later, I got a phone call and said, hey, we forgot, we're gonna pay you to drive for us. And I'm like, well, are you kidding me? And it's like, I didn't say anything to them, but I'm like, heck yeah, I'll get paid to drive. So that was my first taste of actually, making money or earning money racing for someone else. I think from my parents, they kind of, wanted me to do anything and everything. If I had showed an interest in it, they wanted to support me in that and give me, the choice of what to do. And I kind of did the same thing to Caden. I never really pushed him to do any one certain thing. I was trying to get him to get a taste of everything. A friend of ours, Randy Anderson, Mark Holes builds RS1 Polaris Razors, and there happened to be one in Vegas, and somebody reached out and said, hey, you want to give your son a chance to drive one? So I took Caden over and said, hey, we can run this thing, you want to do it? And he said, yeah, let's give it a try. So anyway, same thing like me, he went and did it and loved it, and we ended up buying a car. And once he got in the RS1, he's been doing really good right from the get-go. That enabled him to sit and think about it. And last year, 2021 Mint 400, he ended up riding with me when we won. And Caden riding with the Mint was pretty cool. It was a great experience. The Mint 400 is a sprint race. I mean, and when you get all the fast guys at the front, you just want to hang out with them and on the racetrack and keep your eye on everyone and make sure no one gets away, and you want to put your laps in. And ultimately, the first 3 laps are just don't have any issues, don't have any problems, don't lose any track position. We'll see who's left on the last lap and go for it. Typically, every year there's 2 or 3, or sometimes there's even 4 guys that start that last lap, all with contention to lead to win it. And they fall by the wayside, and there ends up being 1 or 2 or 3 guys left. And it's been that way just time after time after time. Starting the 4th lap, I just picked up the pace and drove as hard as I possibly could, and ended up being at the gravel pit on the north end of the track at that spectator area. And Luke had a flat in there. I didn't know that he did. And from video that I've seen since then, he ended up being right in front of us, and our radio communication was out. Caden saw him, tried to tell me, I didn't hear him. Ended up coming over the bridge and realizing there's a truck right in front of Luke. And I started thinking in my head, if Luke gets in front of that truck, there's potential he could put a minute on me, because he started 1 minute in front of us, that he could put that minute on us and he can get us on time again. So the first truck turns the corner, Luke turns the corner, I turn the corner. There's a couple little chicanes left, right, and then a 90 left, and then a 180 right that was really blown out in soft sand. Caden said, keep it tight, it's hard ground on the inside, don't blow over it. And we go around that 180, and I end up getting a good run on Luke, and I'm like, wow, I'm just gonna drive my momentum, I'm just gonna drive right by him on the left. So I pull over to his left side, but the road started turning farther left, and I ended up being just aimed right at Luke at the last second. I tried to hit the brakes and got into him and knocked him sideways, and that aimed him into the berm on the right, ended up rolling him over. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? How did this happen? And Caden gets out first to check on him, and I'm telling him, like, hook onto him, get him tipped over. And, you know, obviously Luke and Duncan are pissed off, and I could, you know, totally understand. And, you know, I'm going, you know, time's ticking, and I'm like, get the tow strap, hook onto him, get him towed over. I end up pulling around the other side of Luke, jump out of the truck, you know, grab the tow strap, hand it to Caden. Anyways, about that time I get back out of the truck, go back, and it's like, let's go, you know, and I'm sorry to Luke and everything. And I know Luke, you know, I could see he's frustrated, pissed off. You had us, why'd you have to do that? And, you know, Luke quickly calmed down and realized, you know, like, look, you had me, you were gonna win the race, this didn't need to happen, and if you don't leave, Rob, someone else is gonna win. And I'm like, I'm not leaving, Luke, I'm pulling you over. And at that moment, I'm like, I'm gonna pull you over and you go. I'm gonna sit here, you go, you win this race because I screwed up. And Luke just kept going, you gotta go, Rob, you gotta go. And I'm like, I'm not leaving. And he just pushed me to the truck, and about that time, the safety solution guys had showed up, and they're like, everybody okay? And, you know, David Nebraska is telling me, go, Rob, you know, we got this. And it's like, I felt so bad leaving, but it stuck in my mind, Luke saying, you had us, and if you don't leave now, Rob, someone else is gonna win. So when I left, we belted in, and I just putted, you know, in to the finish. And, you know, it was very, you know, emotional for me because, you know, I just raced the Baja 1000 with Luke, and we'd won that together. And, you know, those 6 months of preparing for the 1,000 with the whole McMillan team and the crew and the family, just realizing how great a people they are. I already knew they were from all the history, but just that it got, you know, gained that much more respect for them. And I just couldn't believe that this happened, you know. Anyways, that was a tough one, and it was a good learning experience, and for me and my son and everything. And I feel like, you know, it was, you know, a bummer deal, highs and lows, but, you know, we'll all move on from that and continue on. You know, I have an analogy where at the beginning of the race, they deal us cards, and then we play cards. And you got to be the smart guy to have, you know, the best hand at the end of the race. Tires are key. You know, I've been with BF Goodrich since 1991. We've won over 200 races together, whether it be short course or, you know, racing in the desert. So, you know, I've realized very young, and mainly from my mom and dad telling me, you know, surround yourself with, you know, people that want to win. And for me, BF Goodrich has been one of those. They want to win as bad as I do, if not more. You know, their commitment to tires and making them, you know, more flat resistant, making them lighter, making them have more grip and faster has just been, you know, every so often they come up with something better, and it definitely helps me, helps us, helps everyone on the BF Goodrich brand and win races. Over the years, I remember back in my early days of racing the Mint, it's like, you know, you could have a lot of downtime and still win that race, and nowadays it's just not like that. You know, the competition level is stronger than it's ever been. You know, one little problem can take you out of the race, and typically it does. If you have 5 minutes of downtime, you're done, you lost. So it's really an incredible thing that's happened. I think a lot of it has to do with technology. You know, so many things have you know, increased in reliability over the years. You know, BF Goodrich tires are absolutely incredible what they have now, and you got to have the best to be the best. And, you know, nowadays this last lap of the Mint 400 is always, you know, right down to the finish line and the battle right to the end.